Brian was 35 years old, living in Austin, Texas, and working as an IT technician for a small software company. He wasn't wealthy, but he wasn't struggling either. Month after month, he saved what he could with a clear goal in mind: stop living paycheck to paycheck and achieve the long-dreamed-of financial freedom. In mid-2022, he began researching ways to generate passive income. That's when he stumbled upon a platform promising returns of 10% to 15% per month, supposedly using artificial intelligence to trade in the cryptocurrency market. The YouTube videos were polished. The so-called investors spoke confidently. The website looked professional. Everything about it exuded trustworthiness. The best part, he didn't need any investment knowledge. Just deposit the money and watch it grow. After a few weeks of monitoring and building confidence, Brian decided to invest $12,000, his entire savings from the past 2 years. He thought he was starting a new chapter in his life, but in reality, he was signing up for financial collapse. Brian had never been one to take big risks with money. He grew up in a modest family in rural Texas, where the rules were clear: work hard, pay your bills, and save whatever's left. His parents never invested in stocks, mutual funds, or real estate. Money in the bank is the safest bet, they'd say, and for many years, he followed that advice to the letter. But something changed in 2022. After 2 years of pandemic-induced isolation and economic uncertainty, Brian started rethinking his life. At 35, he felt stuck. He'd been working as an IT technician for nearly a decade, earning just over $4,000 a month. His bills were always paid on time, but the dream of owning a home, or even retiring comfortably, felt increasingly distant. That's when he began consuming content about financial independence: YouTube channels, TikTok videos, financial self-help podcasts, all preaching the same message. You don't have to work until you're 65 to retire. Just invest smart. It made sense, and the more he watched, the more he believed he was falling behind. And then, in one of those videos, he found the perfect solution: an automated investment platform, supposedly powered by AI, operating in the cryptocurrency market. The promise was simple: invest, and the system does the rest. Monthly profits between 10% and 15%, low risk, and quick access to withdrawals. The company name sounded modern, the website was sleek, and the testimonials seemed incredibly convincing. A finance influencer Brian had followed for months enthusiastically endorsed the platform. He claimed to use it personally, showing weekly payouts and screenshots of deposits. The video had over 300,000 views, and the comments were overwhelmingly positive. Everything seemed legit. Over the next few days, Brian dove deep into research. He read the white paper, analyzed the charts on the site, and even chatted with a representative from the platform on Telegram, someone who introduced themselves as a personal financial advisor. They offered him a 5% bonus if he invested within the next 48 hours. This created a sense of urgency. Brian hesitated, of course. It wasn't a small amount. We're talking $12,000, every penny he'd saved since 2020, including his government stimulus checks and an annual bonus from work. But the promise was too tempting. If the returns really were 10% per month, he'd double his money in less than a year. It was his chance to finally start building something. After a few more days of deliberation, Brian decided to take the leap. He transferred the money via stablecoin to the platform's wallet, followed all the instructions, and within minutes received a confirmation email. Your capital is now working for you. Welcome to financial freedom. He felt excited, nervous, but optimistic. That night, he went to bed believing he'd made the smartest decision of his life. Little did he know, he had just walked straight into the perfect trap. In the first few days after investing, Brian checked his account on the platform obsessively, sometimes multiple times an hour. The interface was clean and elegant, with real-time graphs, updated balances, and a dashboard showing every cent of his growing capital. By the end of the first week, his balance had increased by just over 2%. A modest gain, sure, but promising, and most importantly, consistent. By the second week, the dashboard showed exactly what the videos promised: small daily profits that added up to an average of 10% per month. The numbers kept climbing, and better yet, he could click withdraw anytime. Out of curiosity, and to test the company's credibility, Brian decided to withdraw $250. The system processed the request in under 24 hours. The next day, the money was in his USDC
sealed the
wallet.
deal.
From that moment on, he fully trusted the platform. In Telegram groups, investors shared screenshots of even bigger gains, exchanged tips, and joked about people still relying on traditional paychecks. There were even free mentorship channels where admins from the company taught reinvestment strategies. Feeling motivated, Brian started thinking bigger. If he reinvested everything he earned in the first 6 months, his capital would double. After that, he could start withdrawing monthly earnings and use the income to maybe quit his job, take courses, or travel. For the first time, he felt in control of his financial future. He even cautiously recommended the platform to 2 coworkers, though with the almost irresistible excitement of someone who thinks they've discovered a secret. One friend ended up investing $5,000 after seeing the reports Brian showed him on his phone. Then came the first major emotional hit, the announcement of a new VIP plan with even higher returns. The platform said it was expanding into Asian markets and offering a limited program for investors who deposited over $25,000. In return, they'd get 18% monthly returns, priority support, exclusive reports, and invites to private events, supposedly held in cities like Miami, Dubai, and Singapore. Brian didn't have that kind of money, but he started considering taking out a personal loan to join this new tier. It didn't seem crazy. After all, the payouts were coming, the withdrawals worked, and the platform had delivered more than it promised. He even scheduled a meeting with a bank manager to explore loan options, but ultimately backed out. Not out of fear, but because he figured that with constant reinvestment, he'd soon hit that amount naturally. What he didn't realize, and what almost no one realized, was the subtle pattern behind the easy profits. The platform allowed small withdrawals to build trust. It paid early investors with money from new ones, and the entire system was fueled by a cycle of constant reinvestment, masking the lack of any real investment activity. But Brian had no idea. All he saw were rising numbers, and when he looked at the growth chart, he felt pride, relief. For perhaps the first time in his life, he felt like he was beating the system, and it was exactly that feeling that kept him trapped for far too long. The first strange thing happened on a Tuesday morning. Brian had woken up early as usual and logged into the platform to check his balance. But when he tried to log in, he was greeted by a generic message, "Temporary maintenance. We are updating our system to better serve you." At first, it didn't seem alarming. Digital platforms undergo maintenance all the time. He waited a few hours and tried again. The message was still there. In the Telegram group, dozens of messages were being posted every minute. Some users reported the same issue, while others claimed they could access their accounts just fine. One of the moderators, with a golden badge icon next to their name, explained that the system was being updated to include new security features and that everything would be back to normal within 24 hours. Brian believed them. The next day, the site came back online. His balance was still there, untouched, growing as always. Once again, his trust was restored, but the instability became frequent. Within 2 weeks, the platform went offline 3 more times, each time displaying the same maintenance message and offering vague explanations. The number of messages in the Telegram group tripled. Some users began asking, more firmly this time, why withdrawals were taking longer than before. Brian tried to withdraw $1,000. Before, withdrawals took less than 24 hours. This time, it took 4 days. The money arrived, but so did a sense of unease. For the first time, he considered pulling all his money out of the platform, but he hesitated. With every new outage, there was always a convincing justification. Internal audits, DDoS attacks, temporary blocks due to European regulations. The moderators remained active, and the messages that questioned too much started disappearing. Brian noticed this. Comments from more critical users were deleted minutes after being posted. A friend he'd shared the platform link with tried to warn him, "Dude, these patterns are classic signs of a scam. They control the narrative in the groups. This isn't normal." But Brian wasn't ready to accept it. Maybe it was pride, maybe it was fear, or maybe it was the emotional logic of someone who has too much to lose if they admit they made a mistake. That's when the platform announced a temporary pause on withdrawals. According to the statement, the company had temporarily suspended withdrawals to implement a new layer of compliance required by international regulators. They said it was standard practice for major companies in the industry and would ensure greater security for all users. They promised everything would normalize within 10 days. The Telegram group exploded. Some celebrated, saying it was a necessary step toward regulation. Others began panicking, accusing the company of fraud and warning that this was the beginning of the end. Brian tried to stay calm. He took a deep breath. He reminded himself of all the moments the platform had delivered on its promises. He tried to convince himself it was just another phase, just one more obstacle, but deep down, something had changed. That night, he revisited all the videos that had convinced him to invest. He reread the comments. Many had been full of praise just weeks earlier, but now they were flooded with edited messages from people saying they'd been scammed. He tried accessing the site the next day. Nothing. He tried again that night, still offline. He checked the Telegram group. It was closed to new comments. Only the moderators could post. The silence was deafening. Then a pinned message appeared at the top of the group. We are facing a legal attack and working with our lawyers to restore the platform as soon as possible. Thank you for your patience. Brian felt a chill run down his spine. It was the first time he truly considered that he had lost everything. 2 weeks passed since Brian had last accessed his account. The platform vanished. The website now displayed only a blank white screen with an error code. The Telegram group was deleted. The YouTube channel with the educational videos disappeared overnight. And the influencers who promoted the system? All silent. Some deleted their profiles. Others simply pretended nothing had happened. Brian tried to find answers. He sent emails to support. All bounced back with delivery errors. He searched for the company's name on complaint websites and forums. He found dozens of stories from people in similar situations, people from all over the country, young adults, retirees, couples who had invested their savings, year-end bonuses, even their children's college funds. That's when he realized the scam was bigger than he thought. The supposed company never formally existed. The EIN listed on the website was fake. The founders used false identities, generic names, with no traceable professional history. Everything had been meticulously planned to appear legitimate and vanish when convenient. Brian had fallen victim to an international fraud scheme that moved millions of dollars in just a few months. But at that moment, none of that mattered, because nothing could bring back the $12,000 he had invested. Money he had spent 2 years saving. Money that represented time, effort, sacrifices. Money that, in an instant, turned to dust. In the days that followed, he fell into a state of shock. He stopped going to the gym, stopped cooking, barely responded to messages. He went to work like a zombie, pretending everything was fine, but his mind was elsewhere. The weight of shame almost outweighed the pain of loss. He wondered how he could have been so naive, how he missed the signs, how he believed promises that were so absurd. But the truth is, he saw the signs. He just didn't want to believe them. He began avoiding conversations about money with his coworkers. He didn't tell his parents, not even his ex-girlfriend, whom he still occasionally talked to. The only friend who knew about the investment tried to console him, but Brian shut him out. He felt humiliated. He felt stupid. At one point, he even considered hiring a lawyer or reporting the case to the FBI, but he knew it was too late. The cryptocurrency wallets used in the scam had been emptied. The digital traces were practically unrecoverable, and the authorities, overwhelmed, treated cases like this as just one among thousands. What remained was the raw, unfiltered reality. No savings, no prospects, no trust in anything involving money. Slowly, Brian began to rebuild, not out of willpower, but out of necessity. He canceled plans, sold items he no longer used, moved into a smaller apartment, rented from an acquaintance for a symbolic amount. He went back to living with the bare minimum. It took over a year to get out of the red and reorganize his financial life. Today, Brian is more skeptical than ever. He learned the lesson the hardest way possible. He doesn't talk openly about what happened, but he keeps the screenshots, emails, and receipts as a digital scar from the experience. Sometimes, when he sees a new YouTube video promising passive income with AI or guaranteed profits with crypto, he feels a knot in his stomach, not for himself, but for all the others who will still fall for it. Because in the end, what destroyed Brian wasn't just someone else's greed. It was the very human desire, the legitimate longing for a better life, and the cruel promise that it could be easy. Scams like the one that hit Brian don't just happen in distant countries or movies. They're closer than many realize. They prey on the fear of being left behind, the social pressure to get rich, and the promise of shortcuts that, in the end, don't exist. And the most dangerous part, they don't look like scams until it's too late. If you've ever thought about investing everything in something that seems guaranteed, or if someone offers you returns that sound too good to be true, stop, research, question, talk to someone who knows the subject. The money you earn through hard work deserves protection, not empty promises. And if this story touched you in any way, if you know someone who needs to hear this before making a mistake, share this video. You might just prevent the next Brian. This channel brings real stories of success, failure, and recovery in the world of finance. If you'd like to hear more, consider subscribing. And remember, in the world of investing, common sense is worth more than any promised return.